The 1960s gave us R&B groups with harmonies so powerful, voices so emotional, and songs so addictive that the world never truly moved on from them.
One more time.
From Motown to Stax, from church choirs to crowded street corners, these groups transformed heartbreak, love, struggle, and joy into timeless music.
My own beliefs are in my song.
Some were teenagers when they made history. Some almost never got discovered at all. But together, they created the soundtrack of an entire generation. Today on Retro Vinyl, we're counting down the 15 most addictive R&B groups of the 1960s, the voices that changed music forever. Let's jump right into it.
Tonight you're mine, completely.
Number 15, the Shirelles. Will You Love Me Tomorrow, 1960.
For just a moment's pleasure.
Four teenage girls from Passaic, New Jersey never set out to make history. Shirley Owens, Beverly Lee, Doris Kenner, and Addie Harris started singing together as high school friends, performing at talent shows and house parties, doing what they loved.
Tonight, the light of love is in your.
They signed to Scepter Records, and their early singles made modest noise. But everything changed when songwriter Carole King, not yet 19 years old, brought them a waltz-time ballad written with her husband Jerry Goffin.
You give your love so sweetly.
The Shirelles weren't sure about it at first. The melody originally sounded country, not R&B, but producer Luther Dixon heard something in it, a tenderness, a question that felt almost too personal to ask out loud.
And I believe the magic of your side.
On November 1960, Will You Love Me Tomorrow was released. By January 30, 1961, it climbed to the top of the Billboard Hot 100, making the Shirelles the very first girl group and the first black women to reach #1 in chart history.
When the night meets the morning sun.
That was a landmark that had stood for 17 years before them, and they cracked it wide open, not with flash or spectacle, but with honesty.
But will you love me tomorrow?
The question in that song, "Will you still care after this moment passes?" wasn't just romantic, it was universal. It spoke directly to a generation of young women who had never heard their own inner voice reflected back at them from a radio speaker.
You said that I'm the only one.
The Shirelles went on to rack up 6 top 10 singles. But Will You Love Me Tomorrow wasn't just their biggest hit. It was the song that proved a black girl group could own the American pop charts.
Will you still love me tomorrow?
Number 14, The Drifters. Save the Last Dance for Me, 1960. Song is one of the most heartbreaking in music history, and you can hear every bit of it in the record.
You smile for the man who held your hand beneath the pale moonlight.
Songwriter Doc Pomus had polio. He used crutches and a wheelchair to get around. In 1957, he married the tall, beautiful actress Willie Burke, a woman everyone in the room noticed. At their wedding reception, Doc sat in his wheelchair and watched his bride dance all night, with his brother, with friends, with anyone who would ask. He could not shortly after denied a raise. But this song, born from a wheelchair at a wedding, became the Drifters' biggest hit of all time.
Say the last dance for me.
Number 13, The Marvelettes. Please, Mr. Postman, 1961. Five teenage girls from Inkster, Michigan, placed fourth in their high school talent contest. Fourth place doesn't usually lead anywhere. But their student council advisor was impressed enough to get them a Motown audition.
So many days you passed me by. Still standing in my eyes.
Berry Gordy sent them home. He wanted original material. When they came back, one of the girls, Georgia Dobbins, brought a song her friend William Garrett had written as a blues number about waiting for a letter.
You wouldn't stop to make me feel better. I got a letter.
Georgia rewrote nearly the entire song, rebuilt it from scratch, saved only the title, and taught it to lead singer Gladys Horton. Then Georgia left the group to care for her ailing mother. Brian Holland and Robert Bateman reshaped the song in the studio. They brought in a real postman named Freddie Gorman to help refine the lyrics. And a young Marvin Gaye sat behind the drum kit to lay down the track. Please, Mr. Postman was released on August 21, 1961. It took 15 weeks to climb to number 1, Motown's very first pop chart. Better moment. America was escalating its involvement in Vietnam. Young men were leaving. Girlfriends were waiting for letters that were slow to arrive. The Marvelettes had written the anthem of that longing before they even knew it.
There must be some words today from my boyfriend who's so far away.
The Beatles later covered it. The Carpenters turned it into another smash. But the original, recorded by 5 girls who placed fourth at a talent show, remains untouchable. Anthony and the Imperials, Hurt So Bad, 1965.
Like needles and pins, people say.
Jerome Little Anthony Gourdine had the kind of voice that could make a grown man weep. He started in Brooklyn, joined a vocal group called the Chesters, renamed themselves the Imperials, and scored big with Tears on My Pillow in 1958.
Why don't you stay and let me make it up to you?
But then the hits slowed down, the group splintered, and Anthony tried going solo. It didn't stick. When he came back to the Imperials in 1963, everything changed. Producer Teddy Randazzo saw something cinematic in Anthony's voice, a quality that could carry the weight of deep heartbreak without breaking.
She's in love, don't stand in her way. Well,
The songwriter Bobby Hart tells the story perfectly. He was performing background vocals for Randazzo in Las Vegas when the label head, Don Costa, walked into the dressing room between sets and asked for another hit. Hart, Randazzo, and Bobby Weinstein stepped into a conference room, right there between shows, and wrote Hurt So Bad on the spot.
hurt so bad, it makes me feel so sad.
The song is about watching your former lover from a distance, being so close but unable to reach them. Every note in Anthony's voice sounds like a man who has lived that exact moment.
It's gonna hurt so bad, I'm begging you.
Released at the end of 1964 and charting into 1965, Hurt So Bad peaked at number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 3 on the R&B charts. Bobby Hart called it the crowning achievement of his songwriting career. It became so beloved that Linda Ronstadt took her version to the top 10 in 1980, 15 years later. Some pain just never gets old. Number 11, Martha and the Vandellas. Dancing in the Street, 1964. Martha Reeves had been working as a secretary at Motown before she became a star. She was Mickey Stevenson's assistant, the same Mickey Stevenson who would later co-write her biggest hit. Martha had ambition, and she wasn't hiding it. When she got the chance to stand in front of a microphone, she made sure no one forgot her name. Dancing in the Street was written by Marvin Gaye, Mickey Stevenson, and Ivy Jo Hunter. It was originally meant for Stevenson's wife, Kim Weston. After the instrumental track was cut, Stevenson decided Martha should have it. She immediately rearranged the vocals to fit her delivery, something raw, urgent, and free. One detail stands out. During the recording session, Ivy Jo Hunter stood in the studio, hitting tire chains against a block of wood to punch up the beat. Martha later recalled, his hands were bleeding when he finished the song. That energy is in every second of the record. Released in July 1964, it peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, blocked from the top only by Manfred Mann's Doo-Wah Diddy Diddy, but the song became bigger than its chart position. Martha said they wrote it to give people something to dance to instead of riot in the streets. In 1964, with civil unrest spreading across America, the song became an anthem, not of anger, but of defiance through joy. It has been covered by hundreds of artists. David Bowie and Mick Jagger famously revived it in 1985, but no version has ever matched what Martha brought that day in Studio A at Hitsville. Number 10, the Dixie Cups, Chapel of Love, 1964.
Days are days, we'll say I do.
Three girls from New Orleans, Barbara Ann Hawkins, Rosalie Hawkins, and their cousin Joan Marie Johnson, were still in high school when they knocked the Beatles off the top of the charts.
Spring is here, the sky is blue.
That is not a metaphor. Their debut single, Chapel of Love, replaced the Beatles' Love Me Do at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in June 1964. It stayed there for 3 weeks.
Because we're going to the chapel and we're...
The song had a troubled journey to get there. It was first written by Phil Spector, Ellie Greenwich, and Jeff Barry. Spector recorded it with Darlene Love in 1963, but rejected it. He gave it to the Ronettes, rejected it again. He finally passed it to songwriting duo Greenwich and Barry, who made a deal with Leiber and Stoller's brand new Redbird Records label.
Bells will ring, sun will shine. Whoa.
The Dixie Cups, still enrolled in school, walked into the studio for their very first recording session and cut the song. Just like that.
I really love you and we're gonna get married.
Chapel of Love was Redbird Records' debut release and became an instant million seller. The irony of the song's success was bittersweet. The girls later revealed their manager had been pocketing their royalty checks.
We'll love until the end of time.
They once walked into the label's office asking for payment and were told a large check had just been handed to their manager the day before. They received a combined total of $423.
And he'll be mine.
But the record lived on, and it remains one of the most joyful, sun-drenched pop singles ever cut.
And we'll never be lonely anymore.
Number 9, the Isley Brothers, Shout, 1959 into the 1960s. Started in the church. Ronald, Rudolph, and O'Kelly grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, singing gospel alongside their brothers, including Vernon, who died in a bicycle accident as a teenager. After Vernon's passing, the surviving brothers made a decision. They would carry the music forward. Work in 1957, struggled for recognition, and finally landed a deal with RCA Records in 1959. The origin of Shout is pure live magic, forming a spirited version of Lonely Teardrops out of Washington, D.C. Show when Ronald, caught up in the spirit of the crowd, spontaneously shouted, "You know you make me want to shout!" The audience went wild. The room heard the reaction, and the next morning told the Isleys to build their debut single around that exact moment. They invited friends into the studio to recreate that party energy. Recorded on July 29, 1959, Shout was split across both sides of the 45. It peaked at number 47 on the Billboard Hot 100, modest, but the beginning of something enormous. The song eventually sold over 1 million copies, was covered by the Beatles, inspired a smash version by Lulu, and was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1999. The Isley Brothers would go on to one of the longest, most influential careers in the history of popular music. But it started with one unscripted shout from a church-raised kid who just ate the Ronettes, "Be My Baby," 1963.
And if I had the chance, I'd never let you go.
In August 1963, a young Brian Wilson was driving on the freeway when a song came through his car radio so powerful he had to pull over. That song was "Be My Baby" by the Ronettes.
The night we met, I knew I needed you so.
Ronnie Bennett had been rehearsing harmonies with her sister Estelle and cousin Nedra Talley on the rooftop of their grandmother's apartment building in Spanish Harlem. Beehive hairdos, tight skirts, liner drawn like weapons, voices built for something massive.
Make them turn their head every place we go.
Phil Spector wanted to sign only Ronnie. Her mother drew the line, all three or none at all. They signed to Phyllis Records in March 1963. The recording session for "Be My Baby" was legendary. Spector brought in a full orchestra, the Wrecking Crew, multiple piano players, guitarists, horn sections. He ran 42 takes. Only Ronnie's voice appears on the final record. A young Cher sang background.
Make you happy, baby. Just wait and see.
The opening drum pattern, 4-Beat Beats, by Wrecking Crew drummer Hal Blaine, became one of the imitated introductions in music history.
For every kiss you give me, I'll give you 3.
"Be My Baby" debuted at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in October 1963, the same month that would end with the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Then in February, the Beatles landed in America and the girl group era began to close.
So won't you say you love me? I'll make you so.
But no era, no Beatles, no British invasion could erase what Ronnie Bennett brought to that microphone at Gold Star Studios. Brian Wilson spent years chasing it.
Be my baby now.
Before we reach the top 7, just think about the stories behind these records. Teenagers making chart history, songs written from heartbreak.
So darling, say the last dance for me.
Groups fighting for recognition while unknowingly creating timeless classics. And the deeper we go into this countdown, the bigger the impact becomes.
But will my heart be broken?
Coming up, the group that helped save Motown, the anthem inspired by the Detroit riots, and the song with one of the most recognizable openings in music history. If you're enjoying the journey through classic soul music, subscribe to Retro Vinyl, because the best is still ahead.
I try to find one who's gonna get you true loving.
Number 7, The Miracles, Shop Around, 1960.
Don't be sold on the very first one.
Smokey Robinson wrote Shop Around in about 20 minutes. He said some songs just fall out of you, and those are usually the ones that last. The song was inspired by the kind of advice mothers give their children. Don't settle, take your time, look before you commit.
Make sure that our love is true now. I hate to see you feel it.
Smokey wrote it for another Motown artist, Barrett Strong, but Berry Gordy had other plans. He told Smokey to keep it for the miracles. The first version was recorded and quietly released in the Detroit area in September 1960. Then, in the middle of the night, Gordy called Smokey. Couldn't sleep. Felt the tempo was too slow. Felt it needed more life. He summoned the Miracles to Hitsville at 2 in the morning and recorded the faster, more urgent version that would become the hit. Gordy was right. Shop Around reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 1 on the R&B chart. On February 12, 1961, it became Motown's first ever million-selling record, the gold standard that proved the label could compete nationally. Without Shop Around, Motown might not have survived long enough to give us everything that followed.
My mama told me, you better shop around.
While Detroit kept their music perfectly polished, Memphis countered with two men who brought raw, sweaty, unadulterated fire straight to the microphone. Number 6, Sam and Dave, Soul Man, 1967. In July 1967, Isaac Hayes was watching the news in Memphis. The Detroit riots had just torn through the city. 12 days of unrest, National Guard deployment, 43 people dead. But Hayes noticed something on the television screen that stayed with him. Black residents had taken to marking the buildings they owned, institutions, businesses, community spaces, with the word soul.
A signal to rioters. This is ours.
Don't burn it. Hayes brought that image to his songwriting partner David Porter the next morning. The idea became Soul Man, not a song of anger, but a declaration of pride. A celebration of a black man's self-made identity, rooted in struggle, but defined by dignity. Steve Cropper came up with the iconic guitar intro, a slidelet created when Hayes asked him to find something that went all the way back to Mississippi steel guitar. Steve used a Zippo lighter pressed against the frets. When Sam Moore heard the full track in the studio, he was so overcome he spontaneously called out, "Play it, Steve!" And that shout stayed in the final recording. Released in September 1967, Soul Man climbed to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, blocked from the top only by Lulu's To Serve with Love. It hit number 1 on the R&B chart. Sam and Dave won the Grammy for Best R&B Performance that year. In 2019, the Library of Congress added it to the National Recording Registry. A song born from flames on a television screen became permanent American history. We now move north to Philadelphia, where a brand new, ultra-smooth style of symphonic soul was quietly being born in the late 60s. Number 5, the Delphonics. La La Means I Love You, 1968. William Hart's baby son couldn't say I love you yet. Instead, the little boy would just babble. Soft, musical sounds that meant nothing in language, but everything in feeling. Hart listened to his son one afternoon and heard the beginning of a song.
In this world, you are the one for me.
The Delphonics were a Philadelphia trio. William Hart, his brother Wilbert, and Randy Kane, struggling to find a sound that set them apart. When they connected with a young pianist named Tom Bell, something clicked. Bell was untested as a producer. The label gave him free rein and low expectations. He trimmed the group down from 5 members to 3, played most of the instruments himself, and poured everything into an orchestral style unlike anything else on radio in 1968. Waves of strings, soaring horns, William Hart's impossibly high falsetto floating above it all. The song sounded like the inside of a dream.
In this world, you are the one for me.
La La Means I Love You was released in December 1967 and charted through 1968, peaking at number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 2 on the R&B chart.
The line that wasn't true and you passed them by.
It launched what would become the Philadelphia Soul Sound, a movement that would later give the world the OJs, the Spinners, and the Stylistics. But it started here, with a father listening to his baby boy and hearing music in the Babel.
Many guys have come to you with a line that wasn't true.
Next, a group of seasoned veterans who specialized in delivering pure, operatic, high-stakes, romantic desperation that left audiences completely breathless.
Now if you feel that you can't go on, because
Number 4, The Four Tops. Reach Out, I'll Be There, 1966.
and about to give up, 'cause your best just
Levi Stubbs did not want to sing the way they told him to sing. The Four Tops had been at Motown since 1963, a remarkably stable lineup of Levi Stubbs, Abdul Duke Fakir, Ronaldo Obi Benson, and Lawrence Payton.
with a love that will shelter you.
But by 1966, their chart momentum had slowed. Holland stepped in with a new concept. Lamont Dozier said he wanted to write a journey of emotions with sustained tension, like a bolero. He shifted the keys deliberately, from a minor, almost Russian-sounding verse into a major, gospel-soaked chorus.
Come on, girl, reach out for me.
And then he and Brian Holland pushed Levi Stubbs to the very top of his vocal range, higher than he'd ever sung in the studio, and told him to shout-sing every word like Bob Dylan screaming through soul.
Till happiness is just an illusion, and your world.
Stubbs walked out of that session hating what he'd done. A Detroit disc jockey ran into Levi afterward and heard him complaining. He told him bluntly, "You're wrong. This is going to be a number 1 record." It hit number 1 on both the Billboard Hot 100 and the UK singles chart in October 1966. Berry Gordy reportedly told the Tops to get their taxes in order before the single dropped. He already knew.
And your life is filled with much confusion until
Reach Out, I'll Be There was preserved by the Library of Congress in 2022. More than a song, a rescue mission set to music.
I'll be there. You can
What happens when you smash through all racial and gender barriers, mixing heavy psychedelic rock directly with deep traditional funk grooves?
There is a long hair that doesn't like the short hair for being such a.
Number 3, Sly and the Family Stone. Everyday People, 1968.
I'm right, and I can be wrong. My own
No group in the 1960s looked like Sly and the Family Stone. Black and white, men and women. Rock, soul, gospel, funk, and psychedelia, all inside the same band. Sly Stone built them that way deliberately.
There is a blue one who can't accept the green one for living.
In a decade defined by division, he created a group that refused to be divided. Sylvester Stewart, Sly, had grown up in Vallejo, California, working as a radio DJ, producing Bay Area hits, absorbing everything around him.
One for living with the fat one, trying to be a skinny one.
He launched the Family Stone in 1967, combining his own band with his brother Freddie's group. Their debut album failed. Their second began to find an audience. But it was Everyday People, released in November 1968, that changed everything.
Different strokes for different folks, and so
The song was a plea and a celebration at the same time. Different strokes for different folks, and so on and so on. The ridiculousness of hating someone simply for who they are. Laid out over a groove so effortless it felt like breathing.
so on and so on and Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
It hit number 1 on both the Billboard Hot 100 and the R&B chart on February 15, 1969, where it stayed for 4 consecutive weeks. It was the first time the band had topped both charts simultaneously.
You love me, you hate me, you know me, and then
The group performed at Woodstock later that year and electrified 400,000 people. But Everyday People was the song that said what needed to be said. Before the cameras, before the mud, before the legend.
I'm everyday people.
We have officially reached the final two positions, uncovering an emergency recording session where a backup singer stepped up and unleashed total chaos.
First record was.
Number 2, Ike and Tina Turner, A Fool in Love, 1960.
Please tell me what's wrong.
Anna Mae Bullock was not supposed to be on that record. Ike Turner was a band leader and session veteran from St. Louis. The man who had anchored the first rock and roll record, Rocket 88, in 1951, without ever getting proper credit.
You just a fool, you know you're in love, what you say.
By 1958, he was running the Kings of Rhythm, one of the tightest live bands in the Midwest. One night at a show, a teenage girl named Anna Mae Bullock grabbed a microphone from her sister during a break and started singing. Ike was stunned. He gave her a spot in the group and called her Little Ann. In 1960, Ike had a session booked and a song ready, but the scheduled male vocalist didn't show up. Rather than cancel, Ike handed the microphone to Anna Mae. She tore into the track with a raw, gospel-drenched power that no one in the room had expected. Ike sent the tape to Juggy Murray at Sue Records in New York. Murray heard it, offered a $25,000 advance on the spot, and insisted that the woman's voice stay on the record. Before its release, Ike gave Anna Mae a new name, Tina Turner. A Fool in Love peaked at number 2 on the R&B chart and crossed over to the Billboard Hot 100 at number 27. Music journalist Kurt Loder called it the blackest record to creep into the white pop charts since Ray Charles's What I Say. Tina made her national TV debut performing the song on American Bandstand in October 1960, 9 months pregnant. No one had heard anything quite like her, and the world was just beginning to understand what that meant. This is it, the absolute pinnacle of 60s vocal soul. A song so deeply addictive its opening bass line is permanently burned into human history. Number 1, The Temptations, My Girl, 1964. Smokey Robinson wasn't supposed to give this song away. He wrote it for himself and the Miracles. But somewhere in the process, he heard David Ruffin sing during a stop on the Motown Review tour. And something shifted. Ruffin's voice was unlike anyone else's. Smokey described it as simultaneously mellow and gruff, a voice capable of extraordinary tenderness and commanding power in the same breath. He knew, in that moment, the song didn't belong to the Miracles. Were it not for the Temptations and David Ruffin being in that group, Robinson would later say, I probably would not have written My Girl. David Ruffin himself had barely made it into the group. His brother Jimmy had pushed for him. The Temptations weren't sure they wanted him. Motown wasn't ready to sign him, but Jimmy kept advocating, kept pushing, and eventually David got his shot. My Girl was recorded across multiple sessions in the fall of 1964. When Robinson brought it to Motown's weekly quality control meeting, there were doubters. Business executive Ralph Seltzer wasn't convinced it was strong enough. Berry Gordy made the call. The song was released on December 21, 1964. It hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on March 6, 1965, and it has never really left. The bass line, 3 repeated notes from the legendary James Jamerson, is one of the most recognized introductions in all of popular music. Smokey said audiences around the world, in countries where they don't speak English, begin cheering the moment they hear those first notes, before a single word is sung. Berry Gordy told Smokey after the session, "David Ruffin's gonna be a star, and your song's gonna be a legend." He was right on both counts. Before this song, the Temptations had only one top 20 pop hit. After My Girl, they scored 23 more. It is preserved in the Grammy Hall of Fame. It is preserved in the Library of Congress National Recording Registry. It has been covered by everyone from the Rolling Stones to Otis Redding to Al Green. And more than 60 years later, the moment those three bass notes drop, the world still stops. These weren't just hit songs. They were real emotions pressed onto vinyl. Behind every harmony was struggle. Behind every performance was ambition. And behind every classic record was someone hoping their voice would matter. Decades later, these groups still move people because great soul music never truly ages. It lives on through every listener who discovers it. So tell us in the comments which group deserved the #1 spot and which 1960s R&B song still gives you chills today. This is Retro Vinyl. Subscribe for more stories behind the greatest music ever made. Until next time, keep the needle on the record and the volume where it belongs.
You better shop around.